All right, welcome back to the CoachNoah Podcast, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is where we talk about health, fitness, community, and mindset, and everything in between. And today I'm joined by a friend, I guess I could say, from the neighborhood, who we've seen each other all over the place in the neighborhood with kids at the playground. And I just recently learned that you have two podcasts and they're quite successful. And I'm just getting started with my podcast journey. And I thought, what a better way to learn than to bring you over and put you in the studio and maybe learn from you. So this is one of the first podcasts episodes where I didn't do a lot of research because I want to have it fresh and new and innocent.
All right.
And welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. It's like one of these few times where I don't have to worry about if everything is recording.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, exactly. I still have the instinct of checking everything is working, but this time I'm thinking, okay, this is not my responsibility.
Exactly.
If the mics are not recording, then it's on you. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think I said your name, so Luis, introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, it's Luis, but the name I use as a podcast and in social media is Luardo, which is the name I also used to use when I was a teenage and I was like more in the streets and I was doing rap. So that was my rapper name, like Luardo. And then I just, like when I started with the podcast, I thought, okay, I'm just going to reuse that name because
it's a stage name.
Yeah, exactly. It's a stage name. And also when you have like this kind of like alter ego, you can sometimes behave in a different way. I'm normally very introverted. So some people ask me, but how do you do it when you have the podcast and you need to talk with strangers or with people that you barely know and have to have a conversation over an hour? And I think sometimes it helps when you're like, yeah, but when I'm in front of a mic, I'm Luardo, basically, and that like some it helps. Like,
definitely.
Yeah, somehow.
I have also an alternate ego when I'm coaching.
Yeah.
Like if I'm having a terrible day, if I've fought with my partner, I got a ticket on the street because I parked in the wrong place, just having one of those days. When I step into the studio to train someone, it's like a flip of a switch.
You're CoachNoah.
CoachNoah. I'm in the good mood. I'm here to make sure that you have a great time. I have a great time and we have a great experience together.
Yeah.
And so I definitely understand that. That's pretty cool that you can do that for
it's like tricking your personality or tricking your brain somehow.
Yeah. And so where are you from and how long have you been in Berlin?
Well, I'm originally from Mexico. Okay. I moved to Berlin in 2012, like around February 2012. So I have now, how much? 13 years ago, I moved here.
Yeah.
I came here because of a job offer, but the story goes a bit back because I came here 2009. I wanted to see Europe, to see Germany, France, Rome, and so on. So I went to do a work camp, like 2 weeks voluntary work. And then the other 2 weeks I was planned to travel around.
What kind of work?
Gardening and helping and something like that in the elderly home in Stuttgart. And we were like, I think 10 international youngsters from many places, and then we had a leader who was leading the whole thing, and the leader happened to be my now wife. So we met there. Nice. Yeah, so we got there was good chemistry back then, and I mean, still now, okay. But we headed off during the work camp, and then we stay in touch. So she came to visit me in Mexico, and then we were just friends before. And then when she came to Mexico, we started like dating, and then she came back to Germany, and then we were like in a long distance relationship. And it took 2 years until we finally managed to be together. I mean, I was coming here and she was going to Mexico, so it was like
that's a long distance relationship.
Yeah, and a lot of money on flights.
Yeah.
But in one of my trips to Germany, I wanted to find an internship, but I only had the tourist visa. I thought Germany was like the U.S.
Yeah.
I would just come there and then try to find a job or something, washing dishes, or just coming to an office and say, hey, I can do graphic design and I work for you, but it was not that easy. They were always asking for my
papers.
My papers. Do you have a Sozialversicherung and everything? It's like, no, sorry. So it took a while until I found someone who actually told me, okay, I'm gonna give you a chance. We're gonna figure out a way. Yeah, it was a sketchy way to do it. I did the work here, and I went back to Mexico and wrote an invoice as if I was a freelancer from abroad, and then they paid me back. So it worked. And they were like in some co-working place, sharing with other companies. And there was a guy there who had an agency, but like a one-person agency.
Okay.
And he was doing online marketing. And we had a talk while I was there, and we hit it off. So he told me, hey, maybe I will send you some work while you're in Mexico because I might need some help. I'm getting more clients, so I have a lot of workload.
Yeah.
So he started send me some few projects, and then once he told me, actually, my company is growing. Maybe I'm trying to get a big client. If I get that big client, I can bring you over.
Okay.
If you're interested. I said, all right, I'm interested. So that happened. He got that client. He offered me a contract, and I came to Germany in 2012, and that's how it worked out.
Nice. Okay.
So I moved here, and my girlfriend, she was living near Hanover, and then she moved to Berlin as well, and then
life starts from there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Takes off running.
Yeah.
Did you live in Moabit?
Always in Moabit.
Okay, just not in the same apartment always. Or always? Have you always lived here?
Not in the same. No, yeah, we have lived in 3 different places in Moabit, but always in Moabit. Yeah.
You love Moabit, or it was just convenient?
I mean, I wanted originally to live like in the cool, trendy neighborhoods, like Kreuzberg or Prenzlauer Berg or Neukölln. And actually, one of the first flats I was living, but only for 2 months, was in Neukölln. So therefore, I thought, oh, this place is cool. It's a bit messy, but at the same time, it's dirty, but it's like vibrant. I want to live here. Everyone from work was living in that area, so I was thinking, yeah, it's a cool place, but it was hard to find something. Mm-hmm. So we found Moabit, and then moving out from here, it feels like moving to another city. So therefore, we always stay in this neighborhood.
It's a great neighborhood. I love it here. I mean, for this part of my life, it's perfect. I'm a dad now. I have kids. Yeah. Lots of daycares, lots of green areas to play in, playgrounds, and I've done the whole experience in Berlin. I lived in Wedding, so first apartment, cheap, living on someone's couch for 2 years.
Okay.
And then I upgraded to Prenzlauer Berg.
Oh,
lived in no single flat by myself. First time ever living by myself, but living the life, like the bachelor life. I had known my partner for a really long time, and since my first year here, but she was always here, and I was always there, and we never.
You didn't move together for the start.
We didn't move together for the start. It was a slow ramp, and we finally made it work. But 2020, COVID, she finished her master's, or was finishing her master's in Bremen, and moved over to Prenzlauer Berg, or moved over to Berlin because no one was at uni. So
you were living in 2 different cities.
We had long distance as well. Yeah, not as long as you, but long distance.
Yeah.
And we said, okay, well, let's just live together. So we went from long distance to lockdown. Yeah, which was also a pretty crazy change, and then we made our first child during that time as well.
Yeah, that's what happened when you're just locked with the same person too much time.
Exactly, beautiful things happen. And then we because it was such a small apartment, we lucked out to find a place here in Moabit, and we moved in. And we never looked back. Man, if we had a kid living in 37 square meters, it's just not possible. So we're very thankful to have this space here in Moabit. Is great. And so you came here. Did you know German? How's your German now?
Well, I've heard your German, and yours is very advanced. So mine is, let's say, like 2 levels below yours.
Okay.
Mine is good, but lately I am in a moment where I feel like over frustrated how bad still is despite the amount of years I've been living here. So I have these moments where my brain is like completely blocked and I talk like very stupid.
Yeah.
But there are other moments where I'm like completely fluent and people tell me, no, but actually you speak quite good. But other moments I cannot even ask or make an appointment over the phone. So it's like depending where my brain is in that moment. And the thing is that I learn it how to go empirically, so like by listening to radio, podcasts, movies, on the streets. So I don't have the proper grammar structure, so I think that's the problem. So I make a lot of mistakes because I don't have the fundamentals. So I don't know how to construct the sentences. I'm just repeating what
you hear.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually it's so I learned this way as well. Surprisingly, like the first month that I came, I was doing Duolingo for an hour every single day. So 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, trying to really learn. But I was also playing soccer. So the team that I was playing for was in Bremen.
It's called football.
Yeah, we can talk about this later. I'm not too married to the soccer term, but I was playing with these guys who only 2 of the guys on the team would speak English to me. Everyone else probably could, but they weren't comfortable speaking to a guy from the US. And so I was like forced like into the deep end of the pool to sink or swim. And actually I'm super thankful because like what you said, I'm very advanced now. And I learned on the streets I can be like one of the Berliners here. But hardest language ever, super frustrating. And I also still have days where I'm like, both languages don't work, where I'm like, I'm trying to speak English, but a German word comes into my head, and then I'm like, wait, what is that? And then someone talks to me in German, I'm like, what am I talking about?
Yeah.
The brain gets confused.
Yeah, exactly. And that of being forced to speak German, that helps a lot. I mean, for example, for me was the same case. When I started to work here in this agency, then together with that guy, then we started another venture. We started an online shop that sadly didn't work. So after a year, he told me, this is not working quite well, so maybe you can start finding a new job. Yeah. So I thought, okay, thanks for letting me know. So I started to send him. He didn't lay me off, so he told me in advance, maybe start already. And then I found a job in another online shop here. But then I arrived there in the interview, and then they start speaking to me in German, and I also spoke to them in German with the little knowledge that I had back then. And they hired me. And then I arrived, and the whole team was like very German, and everyone's speaking German. I think I don't know if I was the only foreigner, but for sure
it felt that way at least.
It felt that way. It can be that I was the only foreigner there, and I have no other choice that speak German. And with the little amount of German I could speak back then, I was trying to communicate like that. And then I met a friend because she and we started the same day, so she asked me a week later, hey, you want to grab lunch? And I said, yeah, sure. I thought she was going to switch to English. She didn't, and the whole time we kept our friendship, she always spoke to me in German, so that helped a lot. And after, of course, it was frustrated. I quit after a year because I couldn't connect with the company, and also was very exhausting every morning when I was like, oh my God, I feel like
have to speak German all day.
German. So I found a different job after that. I wanted something more international, but I realized that everything that I learned, or the thing that I learned the most in that job, was to speak German.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. For me, over the years of being forced to speak German as well, I realized that I have a German meter, and during the day it gets used and it gets used and it gets used, and by the end of the day, if someone wants to speak to me in German, it's just not going to happen.
It happens.
Done. The brain is done. But yeah, I think it would be really interesting to hear about your rapping career. How deep did you go? When did you start?
I always liked it, but I didn't know what kind of music was that when I was a kid, like, I don't know, 9-10 years old. And there was like then the new metal wave started in the years 2000s, so Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park. So I thought, oh, that's really cool. What is that? And that,
because it's kind of rap but with a rock feel.
yeah, exactly.
Right?
But I always liked the rapping part. So if I was listening to Limp Bizkit, I only liked the songs where he was rapping. Yeah. Also for Linkin Park. Oh, is he singing? No, I don't like that. I like the rapping part. Right. So I started to get more like into that rabbit hole. Okay, what is that? Okay, what are the rappers out there? And got more into it to listen to more. Then one day the movie 8 Miles came out.
That's my city. I'm from Detroit.
Oh, really? Yeah. Then that came out, and I said, oh, I really want to do that. Okay. And I think that that started a spark. Maybe it was a spark in Mexico, or and not only in May, but in the whole country, or I would say maybe the whole world. I would say there are many countries that were not so into rap. That I think a lot of,
cool.
Was a big motivation for many, because it was like, cool. I don't think a lot of people knew what these rap battles were.
Like the pop culture, hip hop culture, and people battling and rapping. And
I didn't know that was a thing, like freestyling and battle and rap battles. I have never heard of that, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of countries didn't know what was that until that.
Until movie. 8 Mile. Until 8 Mile. Eminem started taking. Yeah, I guess that was early 2000s, right?
Yeah. I think 2003, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
So then I started to do that. I wanted to get to know people who were doing that. I couldn't find people with the same taste of music. I told a friend, hey, have you heard rap? Do you like it? Yeah. Hey, let's try to do something together. I was in high school. There was a festival in high school, and I told the teacher, hey, can we do something, like present something? And say, okay, go ahead. So we rapped on the stage of that school festival, and another guy also came along, and then he jumped into the stage and wanted to freestyle. So we freestyled together, and then I got to know him. Say, hey, do you also like rapping? Yeah. I'm in a crew in this city. We are like about 12. I said, oh, I wanna get to know them. And then he introduced me to that very little remotely rap scene bubble that we had in the city, and then they introduced me to all this little this subculture that was like in Mexico, but like very isolated, because it's nothing like right now, because rap now is all over the world, like super mainstream. Back then was like very, very underground. Okay. And the productions, all of them were like really, really bad quality, because everyone was having like their own or like a very bizarre version of a home studio, because
kind of like this.
Yeah, maybe not even like that, because right now to get equipment is very easy to get it now. True. Back then it was like a big computer, like super slow, and then you needed to go somewhere sketchy to get the software, because of course the original software, no way you're gonna get that. So we needed to go
rip it some.
Yeah, exactly. But not everyone had that software, because of course it was not so popular to do it like that. So it was like very challenging. And then I got into it. I learned. I like the thing about, and I tell a lot of people, like, who tells, I don't know how to do that, or that's not my expertise. I don't know how to build an app or a website or a YouTube channel and everything else. It's all about skill stacking. Yeah. You just learn one skill at a time that you need to achieve that thing that you want to do. So what I started to do is like to learn how to do music with a computer, how to connect like a MIDI keyboard and start to making my own loops, or how to sample stuff. I learned how to do the mixing myself. How do I needed to learn to do the mastering? Listen to a lot of rappers from Spain and Mexico and South America to get more. What is the style? What are the structures that I need to learn? And I went all in on that. I said I want to do videos for my music videos. So I learning how to edit.
Gosh.
And also, what do I need to do a original CD? With a hologram and everything. So I want to do that. So what do I need to learn how to do the booklet? I want to have a book in my album. So I did all of the way there, and And then, okay, now I need to get the money. So luckily I was not bad at school. So I participated in a scholarship program. So I got the grant and I used that money to publish my album. So
is it on Spotify?
yeah, no, I mean, it's on Spotify.
It is?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Luardo.
Yeah.
And then somehow I was good at those skills of producing or of creating, but not very good in the skill of promoting. So I had my 500 copies. I think I still have maybe 100 copies back at home.
Yeah.
That I didn't know how to get concerts or like to book a tour, or how to organize that, to promote myself, to be more present online, and all of those things. I didn't learn how to do them.
But you learned everything else, but that was a blockage for you?
I think it's because that's the moment where you have to expose yourself to others, and then all of this imposter syndrome comes in, this self-awareness comes in, all of these insecurities, they become more present there than when you're just working alone in your room. You don't have to pay attention to all of those things, but when you expose yourself there, then
it's
all
real.
of those insecurities, they kick in.
That's pretty deep, actually. I think that's for a lot of people would resonate. There's so many talented people out there. For me as well. Like, I have a business, personal training, and for me, selling it is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
If people come to me, I'm good at what I do. Everyone that comes, not everyone, maybe there's a few people that don't like it, but they come, they have a good time, they leave happier, fitter, and maybe healthier. And it's just that maybe it is exactly what you said, this blockage of putting yourself out there. And for me, maybe it feels like I'm not being humble.
Yeah.
You know, you have to somehow promote yourself and be this I'm great kind of person, and I don't like that. Like I'm good at what I do, but the promotion, it is difficult.
You rather have someone else to tell you that you are, but it's hard for yourself to say, I am actually good at this. And I don't know if you saw the documentary. I mean, of course, he's more canceled than anything, Kanye West. But I don't know if you saw his documentary.
Maybe I did.
He's from the start. He tells his buddy, what was the name? I don't remember.
Kid Cudi.
Yeah, that I want to do a documentary because I'm going to be the greatest rapper ever. Yeah. So I wanted you to start to following me and make a documentary. When he was no one, and the documentary shows how he was like knocking doors and saying, I'm the best and I'm going to be the best. And you think, I mean, of course that comes along a very like bad, and you come along, but it worked for him until a certain level. Yeah. But sometimes that's how you have to do
the
things.
The mind
because,
is huge.
Yeah. Because if you're not able to promote yourself, why should you expect that someone else would do that for you? Right?
Boom. I'm like having a moment here, a spiritual moment with you. Yeah. That's amazing.
I mean, those are the things that I learned back then, because I was like, I don't get, I wanted, back then I really wanted to be like, you had to live the dream, like step into a stage.
Yeah, thousands of people.
Yeah, a couple of thousand.
Luardo.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it happened twice, but in my hometown and with not thousands, just like 200 people. But that feels like, so it fills you out of, I don't know, energy. And I thought, okay, now multiply that for, I don't know, another couple hundred
Could
more.
you imagine what that feels like? Thousands of people.
Just crazy. And then when they sing the songs and everything, then you get the confirmation, okay, it's working. People like what I'm doing. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It happened in my hometown because
people knew you. They wanted to support you. Yeah.
But when I was like invited to another town, I was going there. People were like looking skeptic. Yeah. Maybe one person will come along and say, "Hey, I really like what you do," but yeah, it was really weird. And there were no mobile phones back then.
Yeah, true.
Otherwise, it would have been like that the whole time.
You think so?
Yeah. But or sometimes they were like that, just like watching Skeptic, or sometimes we'll just like turn their backs, and it's like, oh my god. And yeah, it was
So I guess it has a lot to do with promotion, right?
promotion or charisma on stage, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I always. I mean, I stopped at some point. So I mean, the other thing that I mean, I was when I released the CD, I think I was 21 or 22, and I think you're still learning a lot of stuff, and and the thing that you need to learn, even when you're in that age, is that things take time. And I was thinking that it will be like overnight success. I will give my CD to someone and will say, I like this. I will put it on the radio. I will give you a contract right away. But it doesn't happen like that. I mean, like overnight success takes at least 5 years.
Okay. And that's what you said before we started the podcast, actually, with this podcast as well. It takes time to eventually make, if it's the goal, to be supported financially by the podcast. I think what's really cool, though, about this whole story that will be a perfect transition into the now is all of those skills you learned, being on the mic, mixing, editing, all of those things are now perfectly in place for you to own your podcast. And maybe that's what happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, those are transferable skills. Yeah,
Those skill stacking.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So I didn't need to learn new stuff. So I didn't start the podcast from scratch. So I mean, there was a big gap where I didn't do anything with video editing and mixing. But it's like riding the bike. You know the principles. You know, it's like, okay, there are new softwares, and guess what? They're even easier to use than back then. Yeah. So a lot of those things, I start to apply them. But then I thought, but there's one thing that I need to change. I don't want to do things like before. This time, it needs to be, it doesn't matter how technically something is. It needs to be communicated. It needs to be promoted. It needs to go out there. Yeah. Because sometimes people think, I will just let my talent speak for itself. I will just let my work speak for itself. Yeah, but they don't know it.
There's so much. I think my theory now is there's so much out there. Maybe that could have happened like 20 years ago, where there's a happenstance moment where there's an agent who walks into a bar and he's in the mood to see someone, and then someone gets on stage at an open mic and blows you away, and that one moment. But now social media is out there. There's so many people wanting that and being able to promote themselves and put it out there that it's like I feel like it's this full circle thing where now it's really difficult again. You basically have to be the best promoter now. You have to be really good at putting yourself out there and like target audience. Who are you talking to, and how do they like viewing things? It gets so specific now. But you have now 2 podcasts, right?
Yeah.
The one in English is called Guten Tag Berlin, right?
It's called. I mean, both of them are. I mean, I started with the dumbest name ever, but
what is it?
But I mean, no, that's. I mean, I think the name of the podcast, like Guten Tag, I should have put more effort in it. But
hey, it's like me. I was like, what am I gonna call this podcast? Noah, like it's also a stupid name, but it is what it is.
So the both of them are called Guten Tag. So just one is like Guten Tag in Spanish, Guten Tag in English. Yeah, okay. The Spanish one at the beginning was called Guten Tag in Alemania, like in Germany. But then I thought, actually, I don't know if I will just put it in Spanish, because I don't know if I continue this, where can it lead? Maybe I just don't keep stuff Germany centric, maybe more Europe centric, but it will keep being Spanish. So I will just put like Guten Tag in Espanol.
Yeah,
and Guten Tag in English. Yeah. So it's a bit more open of what it can become. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, but I started the Spanish one, I think almost like 4 years ago, and it happened in a pandemic.
Did you start it because of the pandemic, or was it already kind of in process and then it?
I always wanted to try that because I was following other podcasts in the past, but then I have my best buddy who also lives in Berlin. We couldn't meet, or if we would meet, there was nothing to do. So he told me, "What about doing a podcast?" I was like, "A podcast about what?" I don't know, about what we're doing here and whatever. And say, okay, it could be a chance to do something, because otherwise, what do? Everything is closed. No restaurants, no cafes, no bars. So, okay.
Let's just talk.
Yeah, exactly. So we started, and we were recording every week or every 2 weeks. And it was fun. And we only had 10 listeners back then, our friends, and they were commenting. And I think right back then, our friends used to listen to it. Now I think our friends don't listen to it anymore. Because before it was tailored for them, right? And now it's not anymore like that, or they just heard everything already.
Of course.
And then I kind of liked it to do again all this technical craft. Okay, let's mix it. Oh, now it sounds good. The audio, I want it to sound good. And I was listening to other podcasts. I want to do what they do. I want to, and then I was thinking, I don't know if Mr. Beast says this, of doing every video, he says I do it 1% or 10% better than the previous one. So I started like that. I'm going to make the next podcast just 1% better.
Yeah.
Just 1% better. So I was like, okay, I will introduce a jingle. I will introduce this. And then we arrived to the moment, let's introduce video. Yeah. All right. So let's introduce video and put it, and let's open an Instagram account. And now let's put them on Instagram. And now let's invite guests. And it started always like that. First we had only one camera. Let's add 2 cameras.
Okay.
And it's always like one level, when you feel like you have one domain or one craft under control, where you already know, okay, this is working. Okay, let's challenge it a little bit more and go to the next level.
Human drive for progress.
Exactly. Exactly. Or you're a sports guy, so you know what it is. Okay, I can already with 40 kilos, so let's put 10 more, and it goes like that. I can run 20 kilometers, let's go. Yeah, exactly. So it is the same thing. So I always wanted to. I was feeling that also I was missing out on many interesting people and conversations. So therefore, I think a year ago, more than a year ago, I thought I want to start it also in English, because I think there's a lot of people who I want to meet and who have interesting topics that I want to put in the podcast, but I have a feeling I need to open a second channel, because this multi-language channeling doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I started 1 year ago, the English one, but summer last year, the Spanish one podcast started to boom on YouTube. So it started to get more views than I was expecting, and more subscribers, and on Instagram as well, and on TikTok as well. So I was seeing that in 2 years or 3 years, not much happened.
Yeah.
And then after that, things started to grow more exponentially. Therefore, I say sometimes overnight success takes 5 years.
Yeah. Very interesting. And now the English podcast, is it always, I looked into it a little bit. I was like, okay, I can't go completely blind into this. I want to see what he talks about. And it seems like it's a little bit of everything. You have, I saw some stuff about religion and talking about in Berlin and different social justice topics as well.
Yeah. It's still trying to define what's the dark topic. Since it's 1 year, I'm still experimenting what I wanna
do with it.
Exactly. I find people that are interesting, and I invite them. And if they are authors, or they're activists, or they're journalists, those are things that I always like to invite to the podcast. But the most important thing is if I'm really interested in having a conversation with that person. That's the first. Am I curious to know more about them or what they do or their view on certain topics?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of politics in that podcast. A lot about social justice topics, politics. Very people who come and talk about what's going on with the far right. Either people from the left or from the right.
You've had both?
I had one from the right, so it was an interesting conversation as well.
How beautiful is that? That's like the coolest. I think one of the coolest parts about this is just being able to sit down and talk to people, because maybe it's the social media. We feel like we're really connected to people and we're talking to people, but we're really not. We're super disconnected, and the things are growing more and more extreme in both directions. And like that, doing that, kudos to you. I think if people are able to sit down and talk.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very powerful thing. And realizing that just because the other guy is more right wing, he's not gonna pull his gun and shoot me on the face. No. Or that since I don't agree with him, we're just gonna start punching each other's faces. It's not like that. It's like, okay, I still like this point of view, but what about this? Oh yeah, but really, what about that? So it's like you start like trying to find why the other person think the way they think. Yeah. So I think that's an interesting practice to do. And I mean, I also had like sex activists or but those are always like somehow shadow banned by YouTube because I think
the topics.
When it's about something more sexual, they don't like that topic.
It's an American brand. YouTube is from the US. Anything sex is too scary for them. Hopefully we don't get shadow banned for saying this.
For saying, exactly. No, but the most interesting thing that I like is like to talk about society topics, like things that are things. I mean, I want to have something for the point is like for the expat community, right? They don't speak German, so I want to have people who come to the podcast and explain what is going on in Germany in certain topics like activism and politics, or talk about certain subcultural topics like what is going on with the music scene or different kind of interesting topics, or if they are working in something interesting and if they are not from Germany, I want to also give them the platform to inspire others.
Yeah.
And also entrepreneurs as well, to explain how is the startup scene, or how can you start a business, all of these kind of practical stuff. I also have some guests that will come into the podcast of how people can boost their careers, or how can they shift their careers into something that is more profitable. Yeah. So like things where people can really learn something, because I think that's the most valuable thing and sometimes underestimated in podcasting is like you need to give value. What are the people taking out of the podcast or the video? Because if the person thinks that they're not getting anything valuable, then they are not going to listen. People want something for free. They want to learn for free. They want to, or at least have the feeling that they're going to either get a better job or get better mental health or something. What are they getting out of a podcast? What are they learning? And that's what they want. And they want it for free.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the internet is full of free everything. And that's kind of how it's working now, right? The only way to put things out on the internet is just to put it out there. And eventually money might come back. Eventually, who knows? I mean, for me, this podcast was my step into social media again, because I was very active years ago. And I just had that typical burnout. I wasn't seeing the success I wanted to see. I wasn't making enough money for the time that I was putting into it. And I just said, okay, I can't do this anymore. But being self-employed, working in the fitness industry, it's like the main industry of the world that you have to be present on the internet. And my goal with the podcast was to say, okay, weekly, I have at least one post on social media with someone interesting, someone cool, something that people might learn from.
Yeah.
If I'm learning from you or my guests, then someone who's listening is also learning something, and that was my goal with this podcast is find people like you said who's interesting. Who do I want to talk to? Maybe if they have something to share, someone else might want to listen to it too. And I know there's so much on the internet now, but why not be a part of that so much, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's always, I mean, the most important thing is finding the niche. Who do you want to speak to? And this is something I learned because I was listening to a discussion the other day, and they were discussing about how to market a product. And same thing, market a business,
Yeah.
or a YouTube account or a podcast. The guy was saying, okay, I want to promote. I have the best protein shake.
Yeah.
And the other one was like challenging the best protein shake for whom? For everyone. It cannot be for everyone. Is it like is it vegan or not? Well, maybe it's vegan. All right. So maybe the vegan person, they don't care if it's the best. They just care if it's vegan.
Yeah.
Does it taste good? Yeah, it's a good tasting. Because a really pro sport player, they don't care if it tastes good. They just care that it works.
Yeah.
It can taste like shit, but if they believe that it will make them bulk more, they will buy it. So think very good for who are you building, for whom? Who? I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you building
for whom?
are you building your product or your project or your podcast? Because when someone tells you this is the best protein shake for you, and everything is signaling that is for you, people is more likely to consume it, to buy it, because they think, okay, this is tailored for me, for everything I want. So, okay, this is fair trade and vegan, and I don't care that it tastes good as long as it's like that.
Yeah.
Or it tastes good, so even I don't feel like I'm
Forcing myself.
yeah, exactly. So all of those things matter, because there's no like the best product for everyone. There's just like a best product for a particular person or a particular segment of population, and that's a niche. And then even there's a lot out there, there's always a niche for something. So when I started the podcast, one was like, okay, this is a German, Spanish podcast in Germany for the Spanish community.
In Germany.
So
Yeah.
it was like very, very niche. Then I started to realize, okay, actually there are more people out there than what I thought at the beginning. And then actually some of the topics are interesting for people living in Europe, or for people in Latin America who want to move to Germany or to Europe. So it started to expand like that. But we started at the beginning with, how do you get an apartment in Berlin? Yeah, like that kind of topic. So it's always like, okay, finding that underserved
So
niche.
you think that niche is necessary, like
Yeah.
for gaining traction and growth?
Yeah.
Because I'm also one of those people that says it's for everybody. But I guess what I'm learning from what you're saying is if it's for everybody, it's for nobody, right?
Yeah.
So if like for me, fitness is for everyone, movement is for everyone, but it doesn't work because there's so many different types of. Is it a bodybuilder? Is it a runner? Is it a
high performer, or the ones who
a hobby athlete?
Or the ones who just want to do it in their free time. For the ones who want to live out of their sport life, or the ones who live out of their physics, or the ones who just want to be who want to focus on longevity.
Yeah.
Or the ones who are too lazy and want to do less, but they still just want to feel good about it.
Yeah.
Like there's like.
And I'm like, which one do I pick? Because technically, my skill set is for everyone. I can work with someone who wants to lose weight. I can work with a high elite marathon runner. I can help someone lift heavy weights. You know, there's so many different things that I can do. But I guess I'm holding myself back by not being specific, you know?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we all would like to dominate everything.
Yeah.
For example, if I say, I want to, for the English one, of course, sometimes it crosses my mind. Actually, I want it to be the biggest English podcast in Europe, but there are already many out there, and the biggest English podcast from a non-English country, maybe there.
So it starts
Okay,
filtering down,
all right,
yeah.
then. Okay, I don't have to compete with the whole UK.
Yeah.
I'm taking, like, so, and then maybe one day you're expand little by little, and then one day you shift, but it always, you need to attract one person, and that person needs to be, I mean, there's also this other thing about like 1,000 real fans. So you don't need hundreds of thousands. You just need like 1,000 fans to something. So, and these people are really like love what you do.
Yeah.
So let's not say 1,000, let's say 100, let's say 50, but they really engage, they really like your product, what you do, or your style, and then you focus on them, and then these people are the ones who are going to be more, how's it called? They're going to be the net promoters of what you do, because they are really engaged.
They talk about it. They bring a friend.
People say you rather have, also I think they use it a lot in the startup world, that you rather have 100 people that love your product than 1,000 that maybe they just kind of like it.
Yeah. Is the math work?
I mean, if you scale it, like you put it on scale, you build like things that people are going to love, not just kind of like. So, but to find that what are they going to love, you need to tailor it a little bit more, so it gets a bit harder, and then you can little by little expand on to more people. But the first thing is, like, if you cannot make one person to love what you do, why should you expect that other thousands or hundreds of thousands will also
love it?
Yeah, you need to make at least one, and you prove it that at least for one person it works.
Yeah.
If it works for one person, maybe it will work for two.
Yeah.
And
build on
so
that.
Exactly.
So what I'm learning here is the goal is to start by filtering down, be specific, start with one person. Who am I talking to? Who am I training? Whatever I want to do, whether it's art or whether it's sport or food. What are you doing, and what is it? Who is it for? And then, because this isn't the first time I'm hearing this. Yeah. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But this is not the first time I'm hearing someone tell me being specific and niche, I guess we can call it, is one of the only ways to succeed. And I really don't want to hear it, but it's...
I mean, if you think about it, how Facebook started, it started as a social network for people from Harvard.
Yeah.
It's like, just for Harvard. It's not too small. And then just colleges. Just colleges? And now it's like everyone, but it started like that. They started, if people from Harvard loves it, then maybe the people from Yale or from Princeton or from, I don't know, all the other universities. And if they like it, they are going also to signal that it's a good product. So when we expand for a broader audience, at least we have like these people who can be net promoters. It works. And if they are there, all the other people will just join.
Which magazine was it? I just heard, we're getting close to the end, but I just heard of a magazine. It was maybe a year ago that I heard this. That's why I don't know the magazine. It was some sort of rock and roll magazine. Mm-hmm. And it was a magazine that was focused on just rock and roll. Mm-hmm. And all of the fans that loved this rock and roll magazine bought it and read it because it had really cool information about rock bands, new up-and-coming artists, whatever. And then eventually the magazine decided maybe it was too big of a jump, but they started doing like more pop culture, not just rock. And all of the fans,
they
left.
Yeah.
And so I guess it needs to be a strategic growth and a strategic path, but...
Or sometimes you just... or sometimes you just need to accept, if I want to make this work correctly, then I have to stick to my audience,
what
or
works
my niche. and therefore you need to pick something that you also interested in, because otherwise, or you're passionate.
Definitely.
Because if you're going to do it for such a long time and you're gonna put a lot of effort, then you better like it. You better be passionate about it, because you cannot just after 1 year be bored of it and abandon it or try to shift it, because it's not gonna work. So it's picking something that you think, I can stick with this for
at least
5
years.
At least 5 years, and I'm gonna still like it in 10 years, because the thing that we don't, or we underestimate a lot the most, is consistency. We want things to be fast, but things take longer, so you need to be consistent, and eventually it's going to work. But the only way to be consistent with something is if it's fun, if you like it, if you feel passionate about it, if you can continue reading on the internet about that topic, if you can continue talking about that topic. So that's only going to work if you feel a certain level of passion about those things, and about that group, and about that musical genre. And for example, it happens for me in the English podcast. Sometimes I feel like, am I diving a lot in a lot of topics there? But the main thing that I still keep there is like, it has, I mean, we talk about those topics, might be politics, might be communities, might be economics, but from the perspective from Germany. So that's like always the thing that is in common, is from the view from Germany.
Okay.
So that is relevant for someone living in Germany. So the last guest, or the last podcast that I published, was about this whole technological Cold War between China and the US, and where do we position Europe in all of this. So basically China versus the West.
Oh my gosh.
But the author is from Germany. So we focus a lot from the view from Europe and Germany for that topic. So at least it doesn't sound like we're just trying to copy another podcast from the US. So this is like Germany, and like the German view has to play a role in there. So that was
nice.
What I'm always trying to keep.
Well, if you had one last thing to say to someone like me who's getting his feet wet in the podcast game, is there one thing other than finding who I want to talk to and being specific? Is there anything that you would give me as a tip for my journey? Or anyone else?
There are many things that can be applied and that I have learned in the last years. I mean, I have another colleague who also has a podcast, and he came to me, your podcast is working quite well. What could I do? And then we sat together, and I gave him a couple of tips, and then he applied them, and I saw, okay, actually they work. So I was just not just like guessing.
Yeah.
I saw in his channel that it was starting to work. So if someone goes with the idea of a video podcasting, and YouTube has become the biggest podcast platform in the last year, and I think it will continue to do so, then you need to treat your podcast as a YouTube channel. So it applies the same rule of packaging and retention. So you need to know how you package that in terms of title, in terms of thumbnail, in terms of delivering the promise in at least the first 30 seconds. So that's number one. So you need to have a title that creates curiosity for the person who's like scrolling on YouTube, and to see, okay, is this something that I want to hear? This sounds interesting. Then the thumbnail, is the thumbnail like interested enough?
Yeah.
And then in the first 30 seconds, is this delivering the promise? Because sometimes people do clickbaity things, and then they see, okay, this is completely different.
Yeah.
So you need to at least give a snippet, a small try on of
like a teaser.
A good teaser of what you will find in this podcast, and that it really delivers curiosity for the person. So they say, oh, actually, I want to know the rest.
Of course, at the end. This isn't mine. It's my partner's.
Ah.
Yeah. Well, we almost made it through. We almost made it through with a perfect podcast.
But I wanna just add that, and then also on before starting something the podcast, what I realized is this thing that I just said, like this, like was called like packaging, and creating it as a YouTube, a little bit like a YouTube channel, also need to be in the pre-production already thought through. For example, if you want to have a guest, already before contacting the guest, you need to have an idea what the title might be, what the thumbnail might look like, what are the points that you want to extract from that guest. Yeah. So all of these things, they have a lot. If I'm going to have a nutrition expert, then I need to know, okay, what do I want to get out of this person? They say, okay, this person is very like into paleo stuff, and then we'll say, okay, I think I can think of a title already. I think I know what touching points I want to have with this person, so they can attract the audience. And while sometimes previously talking with the person before booking, is also interesting to know what do you want my audience to take themselves after they listen to the podcast. So that already tells you if the person has really something to say for everyone, or the person who you were gonna have on the podcast is only going to promote their business or themselves, because that's something I tell to some guests who are like, okay, I'm a coach in this, or I have this business. It's like, okay, but nobody cares about your business. Maybe they care about the story that is helping you to be resilient in tough times to continue doing your business, and how you found success on it, or how failure is not the end of it. You can always start again. So it's like, there's a message that I want to deliver to the audience. People don't care if you sell pizzas in the street. They really don't care about that, but they care about why you do it and how and why you're still doing it, for example.
Okay, so the story behind why you're doing it.
And then and the value. What do you want the audience to take after they listen to this podcast?
I hope after today the audience hears how talented you are with what you do, and I hope that they click and start listening to your podcast. I hope that they learn from this one to maybe, if they're hitting a rough patch, that the overnight success will take maybe 5 years. Stick with it, stay consistent, and if you're not loving it, take a deep breath, ask yourself why you're doing it, and maybe you'll figure out something else that you really love to do. And if that's what they learn from this podcast, then it was a great success in my eyes.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing it with me and everyone. Maybe the 11 guests, maybe we'll hit 11. No, we're getting a little more than that. But thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate it. And everything, if you want to get in contact with Luardo, you'll see his podcast and everything in the description of the podcast. Thanks everybody. Good job.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.